weren't able to hear it last night.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Manachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Charja Stotra Shakti Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So today's reading is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 42, text number 11 and 12. Evam striya yachyamana Krishno Ramasya pashyatah Mukham vikshyanugopanam Prahasam stamuvacha Evam striya yachamana Krishno Ramasya pashyata Mukham vikshyanugopanam Prahasam stamuvacha Evam striya yachamana Krishno Ramasya pashyata Mukham vikshyanugopanam Prahasam stamuvacha text 12 we can all do together. Eshyami te griham subhu pumsamadhi vikarshanam sadhitarto grihanamna antanam tvam parayanam. Word for word. Eshyami, I will go. Te, your. Griham, to the house. Subhu, O you who have beautiful eyebrows. Pumsam, of men. Adhi, the mental distress. Vikarshanam, which eradicates. Sadhita, having accomplished. Artaha, my purpose. Agrihanam, who have no home. Naha, for us. Panthanam, who are traveling on the road. Tvam, you. Para, the best. Ayanam, shelter. And now Madan Mohan Prabhu will give the class.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timrandasya Jana Jana Savakaya Chaksum Meditanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Tam Sarito Pangur Mamamanda Matyakati Matsa Vasapatambo Jo Radha Madina Mahano. So we'll read the translation to 11. Thus entreated by the woman, Lord Krishna first glanced at the face of Balaram, who was watching the incident, and then at the faces of the cowherd boys. Then, with a laugh, Krishna replied to her as follows. Text 12. Lord Krishna said, O lady with beautiful eyebrows, as soon as I fulfill my purpose, I will certainly visit your house, where men can relieve their anxiety. Indeed, you are the best refuge for us homeless travelers. Purport. By the word agrihanam, Sri Krishna indicated not only that he had no fixed residence, but he was also not yet married. Okay. So, a couple things that came to mind in a short time is, this is Krishna. And Krishna has a certain personality, just like everybody who speaks or everybody that you talk with or you see, they have a particular personality, and you can almost anticipate what they're going to say if you ask them a certain question. So, I had something I just canceled. In the Nectar of Devotion, it lists some of his qualities, and I thought that it would be nice for us to first see some of the qualities that Krishna is exhibiting in these exchanges. Here we see that Krishna, he's doing two different things here. There's two prominent activities going on. One, his activity with Kubja, and also with the cowherd boys. And the cowherd boys, it mentions that, I'll read it in the Krishna book, that Krishna actually approached her as kind of in a joking way, with some jest with the cowherd boys. And so there's many different things going on. So this is what I thought of mentioning. In Nectar Devotion, Qualities of Sri Krishna, number 15 is clever. A person who can perform various types of work at once is called clever. So Krishna is doing more than one thing at a time here. And how he's doing everything is certainly something that the devotees fully appreciate and relish. How he interacts with every individual, actually at every moment. But here, specifically, we're seeing a couple. So it says, in this connection, One of the gopis said, "My dear friends, just see the clever activities of Sri Krishna. He has composed nice songs about the cowherd boys and is pleasing the cows. By the movement of his eyes, he is pleasing the gopis. At the same time, he is fighting with the demon Aristasura. In this way, he is sitting with different living entities in different ways, and he is thoroughly enjoying the situation." So does that fit here? How Krishna, he's doing one thing with the cowherd boys, one thing with Kubja, one thing with Balaram. All these simultaneously he's accomplishing. And then the next one is expert. Any person can quickly execute a very difficult task is called expert. So that's another activity that Krishna is doing, how to deal with this situation that is in front of him. And we see that expertise come up over and over again, like with Indra and lifting Govardhan Hill, and with Lord Brahma when took all the cows. How do you solve these types of difficult problems? Krishna comes up with these most excellent ways to do that. And the next quality is page 168 is expert judge of time and circumstance. Now we can see someone can have a lot of knowledge, be in a very respectable position, but it's also important to be an expert judge of time and circumstance. This is one of the qualities that a devotee will develop, as we see here with Krishna. So it says, Krishna was very expert in dealing with people according to circumstances, country, time, and paraphernalia. How he could take advantage of a particular time and circumstance and person is expressed here. So the specific activity that Krishna is so expert at this is called rasa. He's Rasa Raj, that he knows how to maximize, optimize each situation for what? Is for relishing. So of course relish, it's not that we just hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, is that we relish the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the word, what's in the third verse of the Bhagavatam? What's the word for relish in that verse? Anybody know? You know the word for rasa? It's because it's relish. It's rasamayam. It's soft and semi. But there's the element there of liquid, that it's soft, semi-solid. There's a liquid. And what's a name for devotees? What devotees call liquid that they drink? What do they always call? We're serving out the feast a nice nectar. Nectar. And nectar is derived from which word? Amrita, which means beyond death. Mrita, A in front of it, Amrita. So this is the juice of life. So there's a colloquialism, getting juiced up, that I don't know if it's in many countries, but here they have a term where people of low class, they go out and get intoxicated, they get all juiced up, they say. So we're going up by the juice of this Amrita. What's it, 529? That Param Drisva Navardante. So we're getting this juice of exchanging with Krishna. Just when you're pleased by hearing about Krishna, Krishna's pleased with that, and that's the start of how it is. So when you see a devotee smiling when they're hearing about Krishna, that you can know that's the internal potency. That's the mercy that we're getting here. This happiness. Astute. Astute is a wonderful word for people who like to do queries on their Veda base. You look up that one, Astute. And it's just telling about all Krishna. He's explaining to us, we can be so happy together. You know how they say that? We could be so happy together. All right, so he's expert time and circumstance. Now there was another one, this page 181. There's so many of these these qualities of Krishna that we should see in these pastimes, because that increases your capacity for relishing from different angles. Let's see, 160. I'm sorry, 181. Okay. Now, here's one that is quite obvious in Kubja's situation. Very attractive to all women. Any person who has special qualifications becomes immediately attractive to women. So here we have Kubja, who immediately, what I think the word is smitten, isn't there's a word like that, that you see Krishna's beauty. It's not just a little beauty. That's one of his 4 special qualities that even more beautiful than Vishnu, more beautiful than anyone. The perfection of beauty. Of course, there's competition, Radharani, but in this particular circumstance we're talking about, Krishna is being the most beautiful. And so Krishna's looking at her, talking to her, and immediately she saw Krishna, talked with him, offered her everything that she has. I'll keep mindful of the time. Okay, so he's very attracted to all women. And then just one more quality I thought I'd mention, and then I'll go on with what I was thinking earlier. Pleasing. This is one of the qualities of Krishna, that he's pleasing. So what's it mean here according to the Nectar Devotion? When a person's characteristics are very sweet and desirable, the personality is called pleasing. An example of Krishna's pleasing nature is thus described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. One day, while Krishna was awaiting for the arrival of Srimati Radharani by the bank of the Yamuna, he began to make a garland of kadamba flowers. In the meantime, Srimati Radharani appeared there, and at the same time, Krishna, the enemy of Mora, glanced over Radharani very sweetly. So, pleasing. So when we read about these qualities of Krishna, this Krishna, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it explains that Krishna is very much attracted to the elevated qualities of the devotee. So one of the things that Bhaktisiddhanta, devotee as Bhaktisiddhanta thing was to see about seeing Krishna. And he says, act in such a way that Krishna wants to see you. So as devotees, our main objective is to please the spiritual master, get his blessings, get his mercy. That's our life's goal. And then these qualities will manifest, just like in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nitya Bhagavata Seva, it says, by serving, you develop a particular quality. We're actually like sponges or crystals or mirrors. We reflect what we're thinking about. We actually develop those very same qualities and actions and mannerisms of whatever you're thinking about. In a kind of humorous way, sometimes you see old people with their dog, walking their dog, and they start to look like each other. I don't know if anybody has noticed that, but yeah, Tamahar's nodding his head, he's seen that. So it's and of course we know yam yam api smaram bhavam, that whatever one's thinking of, well, that's his next birth, but we're actually taking little births all the time. The body is not actually alive, it's just changing from moment to moment. So those qualities that we're meditating on, that's what's going to come through us. And in that particular verse, Nityam Bhagavata Seva, Prabhupada points out that one takes on the qualities of what he's serving. And we can do a lot with that in philosophically speaking, how that works. But for us, it's sufficient to know that if you meditate on the orders of the spiritual master and on the spiritual master who's meditating on Krishna, those qualities come. And we discussed that the other day with the word tvam. I think Tvam, tvam, is that right? You know where that's from, what I was thinking of? Anybody know? Saksat Hari Twain. Oh, Twain. Sorry. It's not really my strong suit. So the Twaina is the qualities. So it says that the spiritual master, he directly is reflecting those qualities, directly the qualities of Krishna, because that's who he's serving all the time. So whatever you serve, that's what will come through. And so therefore, it's very important to always be thinking about Krishna and serving Krishna. So those qualities come through, which is some of the difficulties of getting, we're so easily distracted that if someone performs too many austerities, then they get affected by that, you know. So the main feature is to always serve Krishna. The austerities, they'll have their position, but they don't have a higher priority than the focus on pleasing the spiritual master and pleasing Krishna. So I was going to read a little from the Krishna book, because I always find how Prabhupada, his purports are integrated into the Krishna book by how he's explaining each event. So when the verses don't have much as a way of a purport, Prabhupada gives us that correct way of relating with it, because a purport is taking something that needs more explanation and giving us the bridge for our correct understanding in relationship to the sambandha jnana, how to relate to Krishna. We really never know Krishna that much. You know, even Lord Brahma, he'll say, some people may say they know Krishna. Or even Lord Chaitanya, he says as far as he's concerned, he's the son of Maharaj Nanda and Jasoda. So it's not so much the knowing all the technical details, because there's a technical aspect of philosophy. And then there's also what we're supposed to know is the science of relationship, the bhakti, is how you know Krishna. So here's chapter 41, and it says, after leaving the florist's place, Krishna and Balaram saw a hunchbacked young woman carrying a dish of sandalwood pulp through the streets. Since Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, he wanted to make all his companions joyous by cutting a joke with the hunchbacked woman. So he's not mean, but he's seeing an opportunity here to, so he wanted to make all his companions joyous by cutting a joke with the hunchbacked woman. But Krishna is so auspicious that everybody is benefited by these circumstances. Such an expert. Krishna addressed her, "O tall young woman, who are you? Tell me, for whom are you carrying the sandalwood pulp in your hand? I think you should offer the sandalwood to me. And if you do, I'm sure you'll be fortunate." So that's what he said as way of his joke. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he knew everything about the hunchback. By his inquiring, he indicated that there was no use in serving a demon. One had better serve Krishna and Balaram and get rid of sins. So see, this is another important aspect, how she becomes completely sinless by this activity. The woman replied to Krishna, "My dear Shamasundar, dear beautiful dark boy, you may know that I am engaged as a maidservant of Kamsa. I am supplying pulp of sandalwood daily, and the king is very pleased with me for supplying these nice things. But now I see that there is no one who can better be served by the pulp of the sandalwood than you two brothers. Being captivated by the beautiful features of Krishna and Balaram. That's such a nice point. It's when you see Krishna and Balaram, how can you see them as beautiful if there's still any sin in your consciousness? So, and we'll get to that too on May 30th when Krishna goes into the wrestling arena, how everybody sees him. That was the class I was preparing for. They're talking, they're smiling, they're glancing in their other activities. The hunchback woman began to smear. Did I skip a sentence? I must have skipped something. Being captivated by the beauty of the two brothers, Krishna and Balaram, they're talking and they're smiling and they're glancing and other activities. The hunchback woman began to smear sandalwood pulp all over their bodies with great satisfaction and devotion. Didn't seem like she was even asked, right? She just said, who do you have this for? And she immediately started rubbing their bodies with sandalwood pulp. So what do you think she's experiencing? She sees Krishna and Balaram. She's got the sandalwood pulp. She's also how intelligent she is. So I don't know how shy she is at this particular point, but she went over. The two transcendental beggars, Krishna and Balaram, were naturally beautiful, and their beautiful complexions, and they were and had beautiful complexions. Everybody's concerned about having a nice complexion. This industry, cosmetics, is that a small industry? Big industry. They were naturally beautiful and had beautiful complexions, and they were naturally dressed in colorful, nicely dressed in colorful garments. The upper portions of their bodies were already very attractive, and when the hunchback woman smeared their bodies with sandalwood pulp, they looked even more beautiful. Krishna was very pleased by this service. So actually, was it the sandalwood pulp that was making them more beautiful, or was it the service that he's receiving from Kubja, who's, here it says that she was doing it with devotion, so much that Krishna was pleased. He's pleased. And he began to consider how to reward her. In other words, in order to draw the attention of the Lord, the Krishna conscious devotee has to serve him in great love and devotion. So Prabhupada's pointing out that Kunja had great love and devotion and pleased Krishna, which is the ultimate test if you're pleasing, doing it correctly. Krishna cannot be pleased by any action other than transcendental loving service unto him, which means Kubja had transcendental loving service to him. Thinking like this, the Lord pressed the feet of the hunchback woman with his toes, and capturing her cheeks with his fingers, gave her a jerk in order to make her straight. At once the hunchback woman looked like a beautiful, straight girl with broad hips, thin waist, and very nice, well-shaped breasts. Since Krishna was pleased with the service of the hunchback woman, and since she was touched by Krishna's hands, she became the most beautiful girl amongst women. This incident shows that by serving Krishna, the devotee immediately becomes elevated to the most exalted position. In all respects, devotional service is so potent that anyone who takes to it becomes qualified with all godly qualities. Krishna was attracted to the hunchback woman not for her beauty, but for her service. As soon as she rendered service, she immediately became the most beautiful woman. A Krishna conscious person does not have to be qualified or beautiful. After becoming Krishna conscious and rendering service to Krishna, he becomes very qualified and beautiful. When the woman was turned in by Krishna's favor into an exquisitely beautiful young girl, she naturally felt very much obliged to Krishna, and she was also attracted by his beauty. Without hesitation, she caught the rear part of his cloth and began to snatch it. She smiled flirtatiously and admitted that she was agitated by lusty desires. She forgot that she was on the street, and therefore the elder brother of Krishna, and before the elder brother of Krishna and his friends. So she wasn't very shy, but she forgot. She frankly proposed to Krishna, "My dear hero, I cannot leave you in this way. You must come to my place. I am already very much attracted to your beauty, so I must receive you well. For you, who are the best amongst males, you must also be very kind upon me." In plain words, she proposed that Krishna come to her home and satisfy her lusty desires. Krishna, of course, felt a little bit embarrassed in front of his elder brother, Balaram. Krishna gets embarrassed in front of Balaram a couple times. Remember lifting Govardhan Hill? He looked at Balaram, and he was also got a little embarrassed because he knows that Balaram knows what's going on. So, but he knew that the girl was simple and attractive. Therefore, he simply smiled at her words. Looking towards the cowherd boy friends, he replied to the girl. So you can see he's got a lot of things going on at the same time here. But originally he went over to make a joke for his friends to enjoy. So now he's looking, and he's kind of put on the spot here. He's in the... Now, also we remember he's 11, just to remember the context. He's 11 years old. All right. She was simple and attractive, therefore smiling, looking, he says, here's what Krishna replied to the girl. "My dear, beautiful girl, I'm very much pleased by your invitation, and I must come to your home after finishing my other business here. Such a beautiful girl like you is the only means of solace for a person like me." This is today's verse that's being said right now. "For I'm away from home and not married. Certainly as a suitable girlfriend, you can give us relief from all kinds of mental agitation." Krishna satisfied the girl in this way with sweet words. Leaving her there, he began to proceed down the street of the marketplace where the citizens were prepared to receive him. So we'll just go back to the next part, which is, I thought that we said it. Let's see, I wrote it down. I think page 314. I had a couple minutes. Okay. In the chapter 47, where Krishna pleases his devotees, I'm just going to read just a little bit of this so we're not in a cliffhanger here. So it says, Lord Krishna, fully satisfied that Uddhava was able to solace him by his instructions and by the message. Okay, that was the next paragraph is, Lord Krishna then decided to go to the house of Kubja, the hunchback woman, who had pleased him by offering him sandalwood pulp when he was entering the city of Mathura. As is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna always tries to please his devotees. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna always tries to please his devotees. So what's Krishna doing? With all of his wonderful, incredible intelligence and inconceivable potencies, he's always trying to please his devotees. And what's his devotees doing? And the devotees try to please Krishna. As the devotees always think of Krishna within their hearts, so Krishna always thinks of his devotees within himself. When Kubja was converted into a beautiful society girl, she wanted Krishna to come to her place so she could receive him and worship him in her own way. So Bhagavad Gita also says that Krishna can be worshipped by your profession, your occupation. So she happened to have a particular occupation here. Society girls are generally try to satisfy their clients by offering their bodies to the men to enjoy. But this society girl, Kubja, was actually captivated by lust to satisfy her senses with Krishna. When Krishna desired to go to the house of Kubja, she certainly had no desire for sense gratification. By supplying the sandalwood pulp to Krishna, Kubja already satisfied his senses. On the plea of her sense gratification, he decided to go to her house, not actually for sense gratification, but to turn her into a pure devotee. So what was Krishna's purpose to go there? Was to turn her into a pure devotee. This reminds us of Haridas Thakur in a similar situation. In some aspects, there was a young lady there that was posturing with certain gestures in her mind that Haridas Thakur was able to tolerate because of the mercy he was getting by his connection with the holy name, and set an example. Krishna is always served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses' fortune. Therefore, he had no need to satisfy his senses by going to a society girl. But as he is kind to everyone, he decided to go there. As soon, it is said that the moon does not withhold its shining from the courtyard of a crooked person. Similarly, Krishna's transcendental mercy is never denied to anyone, whether one has rendered service unto him through lust, anger, fear, or pure love. Krishna's transcendental mercy is never denied to anyone, whether one has rendered service to him through lust, anger, fear, or pure love. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is stated that if one wants to serve Krishna and at the same time wants to satisfy his own lusty desires, Krishna will handle it so that the devotee forgets his lusty desire and becomes fully purified and constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. So the unique feature of Prabhupada, the mercy that Prabhupada is benedicting everybody who comes in contact with, is just the way these words are said, that the sweetness, the compassion, to always encourage everyone in whatever condition one may be in, to think of Krishna, and Krishna will handle the rest. In order to fulfill his promise, Krishna, along with Uddhava, went to the house of Kubja. So he did take Uddhava with him. When Krishna reached the house, he saw that it was completely decorated in a way to excite the lusty desires of a man. This suggests that there were many nude pictures, on top of which there were canopies, flags, embroidered with pearl necklaces, along with comfortable beds and cushioned chairs. The rooms were provided with flower garlands, and they were nicely scented with incense, sparkling with scented water, and the rooms were illuminated by nice lamps. Sounds like a nice place, except a little thing there. When Kubja saw that Lord Krishna had come to her house in order to fulfill her promise, she immediately got up from her chair to receive him. Accompanied by her many girlfriends, she began to talk with him with great respect and honor. After offering him a nice place to sit, she worshipped Lord Krishna in a manner suitable to her position. Prabhupada puts these things in, suitable. Uddhava was similarly received by Kubja and her girlfriend, but he was not on an equal level with Krishna. He simply sat on the floor. Without wasting time, as one does in these situations, Prabhupada, as one does in these situations, Krishna entered the bedroom of Kubja. In the meantime, Kubja took her bath and smeared her body with sandalwood pulp. She dressed herself with nice garments, valuable jewelry, ornaments, and flower garlands, chewed betel nut and other intoxicating edibles, and smeared herself with scents. She appeared before Krishna. Her smiling glance and moving eyes were full of feminine bashfulness. As she stood gracefully before Lord Krishna, who was known as Madhava, the husband of the goddess of fortune. When Krishna saw Kubja was hesitating to come before him, so Kubja was hesitating. This is actually happening, here's Krishna, he came to my house, and, okay. All right, with great affection, she dressed her. Okay. Simply, okay, she was hesitating to come before him. Krishna immediately caught hold of her hand, which was decorated with bangles, with great affection. And he dragged her beside him and made her sit by his side. Simply by having previously supplied sandalwood pulp to the Supreme Lord, Krishna, Kubja became free of all sinful reactions. So what happened as soon as Krishna, what did it say there? Simply by having previously supplied sandalwood pulp to the Supreme Lord Krishna, Kubja became free of all sinful reactions and eligible to enjoy with him. She then took Krishna's lotus feet. And placed them on her breasts, which were burning with the blazing fire of lust. By smelling the fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet, she immediately became relieved of all lusty desires, and she was thus allowed to embrace Krishna with her two arms and thus mitigate her long-cherished desire to have Krishna as a visitor in her home. So, Jai. I just wanted to say a couple of things about Kubja. So, can we have any questions or comments, or we could actually end the class on time? Yes, there's one.
So she was running this house of ill repute, but she was a hunchback, right? Before this occurred, is that right?
The information that's supplied here is not complete in that regard. And at this point, I'm just going to repeat what I've heard about that. And I'm not so vastly learned on those points. What you did, it seemed like her profession was supplying these sandalwood pulp to the king. That was her profession, and she was living there. I'm not sure what capacity she was living there before. If you're a hunchback, you're generally not in a desirable physical appearance, which is a way that a lot of times Krishna protects ladies. In this world, we're thinking that's a disadvantage, but sometimes we see that Krishna does things like that so they lead a very simple, unencumbered life where they're not being harassed by or victimized by people with different desires.
Okay. When he said that we are homeless travelers.
Well, he left home, right? He went to Mathura.
What also came to mind one time when Christ says the birds have nests, the fox have holes, but the Son of Man have no place to rest, or something like that. So, but in this sense, I'm thinking also if he's hinting we're not of this world, thing. Did that?
Well, it is fascinating. You can take any word that Krishna says and make and see it as a sutra, where you can just go on and on and on, just like with the goddess of fortune, the goddess of learning, Mother Saraswati. She'll take something that some demon says, and she'll turn it around to say so. And then we see those expert devotees. They can take any situation, just look at it. I think it's like an MRI from every angle of vision. They can take a picture of it, where most people come in one angle of vision, and they're very Atmavan Manyateja Gat. They're very strong in one position. They're not liberal to see all the different angles of vision. But Krishna, He's seeing all the different angles of vision at one time. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is giving us that vision. No one who hasn't read the Bhagavatam can have a vision like someone who has read the Bhagavatam. It can consider all the different angles of vision and develop this equanimity towards every living entity, understanding that every living entity has a relationship with Krishna that's active. To some degree, as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. And that way, their aversion to fall. And what's the fifth verse of the Nectar Instruction? Anybody know the fifth verse? Is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. How is that possible? Because certainly people are certainly worthy of criticism almost all the time, almost everybody from some angle. In fact, in the mode of ignorance, you become expert at criticizing others and finding fault with others. But it says that those of divine nature, 16:1 and through 3, he has an aversion to it because of seeing Krishna's interaction with every living entity. And Krishna actually says when he's pleased with someone by his devotion to him, he gives a blessing to that person which makes him have this vision called Sama, S-A-M-A, equal vision. And at that time, Krishna says that's what a pandit is. The pandit is someone who can see this way. It wasn't the verse, the technical aspect of verse execution, but it's a time and place we can see all the different qualities of Krishna, how they interact to generate a particular effect. And of course, Prabhupada we had an example of that, which is, it's mystifying how so many different things can happen at the same time. And the end result is you just feel happy and want to become more Krishna conscious. Do we have any other? Yes? The microphone's coming. A little slower nowadays, you know.
Somewhat a mundane question, but anyway, I was thinking when you were describing about how Krishna, the dynamics between Balaram and Krishna, I was thinking, in Indian culture, that's a big thing, the older brother, younger brother, and the dynamics that goes on just in general with the younger and older sibling, but then what to speak about girlfriend or whatever, So I was just thinking that, is that also in the Western culture in regards to the older and the younger brother with in that kind of situation?
Well, when you said Western culture, that needs to be qualified a little, that if there is such a thing as cultured Westerners, amongst those that are cultured, that does exist. However, a statistical evaluation of how many people are cultured would make it that it wouldn't be the norm. Norm is the center of the bell-shaped curve. So the culture, since you said cultured America, that skews off to the where it goes like this on the bell-shaped curve. There's not that many, but amongst those that do take right and wrong seriously and try to, that's the mode of goodness, the influence of the mode of goodness of trying to live by principle as opposed to just whimsically maximizing the situation for sense gratification. So culture is in the mode of goodness. So yes, it does to some degree.
I guess the reason I was asking was because I was wondering if the Western devotees are able to relate to or relish that whole dynamic that's going on there, and that's where that question came in my mind. So
there may not be that much experience of it by direct experience. I had an older brother that his main activity was to harass me. So that was, he was 3 years older, and it would have been best if he was an only child. So, but yet there was some, it's a subtle aspect when that other element isn't present, that yes, as by nature we want to please. That's our nature. We want to see someone smile, someone be happy by what we do. So naturally the older brother, you want to look up to him, you want to please him, and it's just, I think it's the nature of the jiva, that he always wants to please someone. It's only by the influence of the demoniac nature that he serves the senses, which bring out not the best in him. So the more that one can serve the principles of culture, then the more those higher elements come out. And as you pointed out, then they're able to relish, which is a wonderful thing that's happening in the devotee's life, is that we're increasing our capacity to relish existing at every moment. Because ultimately that's what's happening. You're exchanging with Krishna, who's Rasa Raj, or Akila Rasa Amrita Murti. So Rasa Amrita, we were just talking about the A in front of the Mrita. So that's actually what a devotee does. So as he's increasing the param justa navardante, by understanding in every situation, so then it becomes practical to understand where humility comes in. Because humility, Prabhupada defined as not being anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. So it becomes a very intimate thing, what's going on between each individual and Krishna. And the external activities, if is Krishna being used for the benefit of yourself by getting honored by others, or are you first concerned with the chastity of being pleasing to Krishna and then the others? So it's a shift like a chastity shift in humility that takes one into trance. It's explained 2.4.21 Bhagavatam that very thinking like that is what is the door into trance. So I thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.